Hello and good morning. So there's this experience that happens with catastrophic chronic illness. A friend clued me in to remind me of this concept of learned helplessness, which really means conditioned helplessness. It doesn't mean cognitive learning. It means experiential conditioning. I guess it maybe goes partly into implicit memory, procedural memory, that kind of stuff. It happens on the non-conscious level. Anyway, it's the way I've kind of expressed this thing in the past has been that I either have to be sick enough or well enough to do something, take some action toward improving my health or maintaining my health or something like that. So either bad enough or good enough. So it's like either has to be sufficiently bad that it's distressing in a way that is mobilizing and motivating me toward making it be better than it is, making it be less bad, to move away from the bad. And then the other end of the spectrum is I have to have enough wellness to have like a platform from which I feel I can um, um, you know, I don't know, budget my um, life, parts of my life, to work on getting more goodness. So I guess that speaks in part to the two of the basic drives, the safety system, which is in part wanting to move away from unpleasant things and attain safety and security. Or is that the negativity bias? I don't know right now. Anyway, um, boy, this is so much easier when I'm talking with an individual live because then I know um, there's an interactive process that helps focus my mind and my thoughts. So, with that wave of self consciousness, so in opening up this discussion, I'm just starting to think about it a little more deeply. The concept of learned helplessness came up, and that's like the thing that happens with. This is well known in certain circles that train elephants. And they take a baby elephant, and at first they put this big chain on one of its back legs. And the little baby elephant tries and tries and tries as hard as it can, as many times as it can, and it can never break that chain. It can never get loose. So it has learned through the conditioning process that this thing on its back leg means it can't get loose. So gradually, the keepers are able to put a lighter and lighter chain and eventually just simply a rope on the back leg of the elephant. And just that sensation of having the binding circling that leg is an unconscious cue to them that they are tied up and cannot get away. That's essentially what learned or helplessness or conditioned helplessness is. And this is one of the things that comes up in the with catastrophic chronic illness is that just because one is sick enough, distressed enough, motivated or driven enough to want to improve the situation doesn't mean it's possible. It doesn't mean that the person as an individual or within the circle of support that there are available resources to um, help improve the situation. So I think that may be part of why that sometimes when what I'm experiencing is in the more horrible end of the spectrum, the really difficult. That sometimes I don't even think about what might be possible to do. Um, there are so many experiences of not not being able to do. Um, sorry, I'm fidgeting a lot right now. Um, makes me think I ought to check out what those fidget spinners are that I've heard about. Anyway, so hearing about the concept of learned helplessness helped me remember that this is not my suffering, that I it's not personal, it's not my fault. I'm not the only one that experiences it. I don't have to be found guilty for not being able to do better than I do. Um, and it also occurred to me in that conversation that just because things aren't horrible right now, relatively speaking, that doesn't mean that I'm not in survival mode. So, um, yeah, that's kind of one of the upsides of the chronicness of it is that the human spirit, the human organism has an amazing ability to adapt to so many situations. And just like with people with living with chronic pain, which I have, not nearly to the degree I used to, that, yes, what I live through now, by the standards of when I was still more fully able bodied and able to work full time and maintain other aspects of my life, this would be a horrible experience compared to that. And compared to some of what I've experienced since then, this is not horrible. So, having that context reminds me of something Thich Nhat Hanh said about having had a respiratory infection of some kind where it was difficult or maybe even painful to breathe, and how he used that in meditation afterwards with focusing on breath meditation, how wonderful it was to just be able to breathe. So, so that's one of the upsides. There's of the adaptation response. So this is kind of like more my current normal. And while it's nowhere near as good on an objective scale than some past normals, it's also a far cry from some of the very low lows that have been a normal for me in the past. So that's some thoughts about um, when it's possible. What does it take to be able to take action toward maintaining or improving health capacity and function when living with catastrophic chronic illness? Thank you for listening, and may you have as much wellness as is possible. Namaste.